This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours. Curated by Lizzie Jennings and read by an automated voice. Published February 10th, 2026 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Here's today's news. U.S. Caribbean and Pacific operations. The U.S. military yesterday killed 2 people in a strike against a suspected drug trafficking vessel in the Eastern Pacific, leaving 1 survivor, according to the U.S. Southern Command. Southcom said that it had notified the U.S. Coast Guard to begin search and rescue operations. Eric Schmidt reports for the New York Times. U.S. military forces boarded a sanctioned tanker in the Indian Ocean after tracking the ship from the Caribbean Sea as part of an oil quarantine on Venezuela, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said yesterday. "I don't care if we gotta go around the globe to get them. We're going to get them," he added. Ben Finley, Michael Biesecker, and Konstantin Toropin report for AP News. Energy Secretary Chris Wright told Politico yesterday that he will soon travel to Venezuela to meet its leaders and discuss the future of its state-run oil company. Wright insisted that the Trump administration's interest in Venezuela does not revolve around oil, adding that the country's crude reserves were never a meaningful part of the decision-making in deposing former President Nicolas Maduro. The Cuban government yesterday notified airlines that it would soon run out of aviation fuel, following President Trump's announcement last month that he was taking additional steps to stop the flow of oil to Cuba. Air Canada announced that it had suspended its 16 flights per week to 4 Cuban cities, adding that it would send empty jets to Cuba to bring back the roughly 3,000 Canadians currently visiting the island. Francis Robles reports for the New York Times. Iran. The Muscat meeting was not a long meeting. In our view, it was to gauge the seriousness of the United States and how to continue this path, a spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry said today, adding, "After the talks, we felt there was understanding and consensus to continue the diplomatic process." Ali Larijani, the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council of Iran, is set to meet Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaidi today to follow up on regional and international developments. Reuters reports, Al Jazeera reports. The U.S. Department of Transportation's Maritime Administration yesterday issued guidance to commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz, recommending that vessels remain as far as possible from Iran's territorial waters without compromising navigational safety. Richard Valdmanis reports for Reuters. Israel-Hamas war, ceasefire. An Israeli airstrike yesterday killed 3 Palestinians in an apartment in Gaza City and fatally shot a farmer in Deir al-Balah, health officials said. Earlier in the day, Israeli forces killed 4 militants in Rafah, in southern Gaza, according to the Israeli military. There was no immediate comment from Hamas, but some sources identified one of those killed as Anas Anashar, the son of senior Hamas official Issa Anashar. The Gaza Health Ministry said at least 580 Palestinians had been killed by Israeli fire since the October ceasefire deal was agreed. Israel says 4 soldiers had been killed by militants in Gaza over the same period. Nidal al-Mughrabi reports for Reuters. Russia-Ukraine war. Estonia's Foreign Intelligence Service says that Russia has no intention of launching a military attack on any NATO state this year or next, but is racing to rebuild its forces as Europe steps up its rearmament, according to its annual report published today. "We see that the Russian leadership is very concerned about European rearmament. They see that Europe might be able to conduct independent military actions against Russia in 2 to 3 years, Estonian Chief of Foreign Intelligence Service Kaupo Rosin told reporters. Andreas Saidas reports for Reuters. Rosin also told reporters that Moscow thinks it can outsmart Washington during talks about how to end the war in Ukraine, adding that based on the intelligence, there is absolutely no discussion about how to cooperate with the U.S. in a meaningful way. Russian President Vladimir Putin, in his head, still thinks that he can actually militarily win in Ukraine at some point, Razan said. Emma Burrows reports for AP News. Sudanese Civil War. Ethiopia is hosting a secret camp to train thousands of fighters for the Sudanese Rapid Support Forces paramilitary, according to multiple sources. 8 sources said the United Arab Emirates financed the camp's construction and provided military trainers and logistical support to the site. This view was also shared in an internal note by Ethiopia's security services and a diplomatic cable seen by Reuters. In response to a request for comment, the UAE Foreign Ministry said it was not party to the conflict. Julia Parvatini and Reed Levinson report. Other global developments. The International Organization for Migration said yesterday that a rubber boat carrying 55 passengers, including 2 babies, capsized off the coast of Libya on Friday. The only survivors, 2 Nigerian women, were rescued by the Libyan authorities. The IOM says that almost 500 migrants have been reported dead or missing, trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea from Libya so far in 2026. Jean Adelor reports for BBC News. U.S. Foreign Affairs. Trump said yesterday on social media that he would block the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge connecting the United States and Canada until the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them. Trump cited Canada's perceived hostility towards the United States and its relations with China as key issues. Jacob Wendler reports for Politico. The United States will turn over 2 of NATO's major command posts, in Naples, Italy, and Norfolk, Virginia, to European officers, a military source told Reuters yesterday. Asked about the planned changes, a NATO official said, allies have agreed on a new distribution of senior officer responsibility across the NATO command structure, in which European allies, including NATO's newest members, will play a more prominent role in the alliance's military leadership. Sabine Siebold reports. Vice President J.D. Vance made a historic visit to Armenia yesterday, the first by a sitting U.S. president or vice president, promoting economic cooperation and backing a U.S.-brokered peace deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan. The 2 nations advanced talks on nuclear energy, technology exports, and infrastructure. Vance is set to travel to Azerbaijan today. Michelle L. Price reports for AP News. U.S. immigration developments. Less than 14% of nearly 400,000 immigrants arrested by ICE in Trump's first year back in the White House had charges or convictions for violent criminal offenses, according to an internal Homeland Security Department document obtained by CBS News. Camilo Montoya Galvez reports. An immigration judge ruled last month that the Homeland Security Department had not met its burden of proving that Tufts University PhD student Rumeysa Ozturk was removable, and terminated the proceedings against her, according to Ozturk's lawyers. Ozturk was arrested last year as part of the Trump administration's targeting of pro-Palestinian campus activists. Nate Raymond reports for Reuters. U.S. domestic developments. Ghislaine Maxwell, the longtime companion of Jeffrey Epstein, yesterday refused to answer questions during a deposition before the House Oversight Committee. Maxwell invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination in response to every question, according to Representative James R. Comer, Republican of Kentucky. Comer added that Maxwell's lawyer said she would only answer questions if she were granted clemency by Trump. Michael Gold reports for the New York Times. The Justice Department redacted the names of at least 6 men who are likely incriminated by their inclusion in the Epstein files. Reps Thomas Massey, RKY, and Ro Khanna, D. California, said yesterday after reviewing the unredacted documents. The lawmakers said they want to allow the DOJ time to further unredact the files for the public, but also suggested sharing the names on the House floor. Kate Santelise reports for Axios. A Georgia judge yesterday dismissed 1 of 3 civil cases related to the Fulton County ballots and paused another. The judge issued terse rulings, making clear his frustration with the FBI seizure of the ballots last month. "We are left to hope that the Bureau and the Department of Justice handle the ballots and related records with the care required to preserve and protect their integrity," the judge said. Danny Hakim and Richard Fawcett report for the New York Times. The Justice Department yesterday asked the Supreme Court to send Steve Bannon's case back to the district court, where the U.S. Attorney filed a separate motion seeking to dismiss the charges against him. Bannon was convicted for defying a congressional subpoena about the January 6, 2021 riot. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche characterized the DOJ's move as a course of correction from the prior administration's weaponization of the justice system. Salvador Rizzo and Jeremy Roebuck report for The Washington Post. Trump administration actions. The Trump administration wants tech companies to publicly commit to a new compact governing the expansion of AI data centers, according to two administration officials. A draft of the compact lays out commitments to ensure data centers do not raise household electricity prices, strain water supplies, or undermine grid reliability. It also sets out that the companies driving demand carry the cost of building new infrastructure. It remains unclear which companies have agreed to the compact or have been invited to participate. Sophia Kai, Jason Ploutz, James Bikalis, and Ben Johansson report for Politico. The Trump administration is planning this week to repeal the 2009 endangerment finding, which concluded that 6 greenhouse gases pose a threat to public health and welfare. The finding provided the legal underpinning for federal greenhouse gas regulation. This amounts to the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin said. Meredith McGraw and Benoit Morin report for The Wall Street Journal. Trump has directed top U.S. spy agencies to share sensitive intelligence about the 2020 election with his former campaign lawyer, Kurt Olson, according to 4 sources. Olson, now a temporary government employee in the White House, is leading the probe into whether the 2020 election win was the result of fraud or other electoral irregularities. The White House did not say whether there were any limits on the intelligence that could be shared with Olson, explaining only that the president has the authority to provide access to classified material to individuals as he deems necessary. The Trump administration will fund efforts to promote free speech in Western countries allied with Washington. Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy, Sarah Rogers, said yesterday. The State Department said that Rogers will discuss freedom of speech and digital freedom with officials and others on her trip to Dublin, Budapest, Warsaw, and Munich. Simon Lewis reports for Reuters. Trump administration litigation. A federal appeals court yesterday allowed the Trump administration to move forward with ending temporary protected status for more than 60,000 migrants from Nepal, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Chris Cameron reports for the New York Times. A federal judge yesterday issued a preliminary injunction blocking California's law prohibiting federal law enforcement agents from wearing masks. She ruled that it was unconstitutional because it exempted state law enforcement officers, making it discriminatory. The judge upheld a companion measure requiring them to display identification. Laurel Rosenhall reports for the New York Times. In case you missed it, yesterday on Just Security, U.S. withdrawal from international cyber organizations weakens global cooperation against cyber threats. By Christopher Painter. Grok, deepfakes, and the collapse of the content capability distinction. By Ignacio Cafone. Establishing the Board of Peace. Key questions about the launch of the Trump administration's new peace-building initiative. By Michael Matwer. Thank you for listening to Just Security's early edition today, February 10, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.